This edition of the Career Talk series that we are hosting in Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand region will be talking about the ways to successfully kickstart your career in infrastructure. And we can't be more excited as we have a very interesting lineup for industry experts. You can expect each speaker to have the floor for about 12 minutes. And towards the end, we will also take the questions you had shared while registering. And if time permits, we'll conduct a short Q&A. Before we get started, let me share about the panel of experts today. Our very first speaker for the day is Sony in Dallas, who will be talking about the fastest growing trends and career opportunities in sustainable innovation across digital infrastructure that shouldn't be missed. Sony is the current Senior Executive BIM Manager of Surbana Jurong. He's a registered civil engineer in Philippines and Malaysia with a professional focus in transport engineering with 20 years combined experience in government service, digital delivery, rail, water, and airport engineering, and has worked for Jacobs, ACOM Building and Construction Authority, and CPG respectively. Welcome, Sony.
Hello. Yeah. Okay.
After that, we have Professor Cheryl Desha, who will talk about the skills needed to excel in career in infrastructure. Professor Cheryl Desha is the Industry Engagement Director for the School of Engineering and Built Environment at Griffith University. Cheryl's career goal is to help empower society with the language, knowledge, and skills needed to thrive in the face of 21st century challenges and opportunities. Over the last 2 decades, and including with the team from the Natural Edge Project, she has co authored more than 100 publications, including 7 books, 2 of which have been listed in the top 40 publications by the Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you, Mavis. Looking forward to today.
Yeah. Moving on, our next speakers, we have Chelsea Havers. She will be talking about the different ways that you can make the most of your degree and stand out to potential employers. She's a process engineer in the water team at Jacobs with the background in chemical and environmental engineering. She has got varied project experience addressing current and emerging water challenges across a number of water and wastewater treatment projects for a range of clients. She's passionate about giving back to the community and inspiring the next generation of diverse scientists and engineers. Her passion is through involvement in a number of committees and programs both inside and outside of work. More sustainability with Engineers Without Borders Australia. Welcome, Chelsea.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. And coming towards the end, we have our very own Kutu Sriram, who's a global manager at Bentley Education based out of Melbourne, Australia, and member of the global leadership team, leading initiatives like building a content creation ecosystem, building and growing strategic partnership with top academic institutions and industry bodies, and building partnership with Ministry of Education in several countries. Welcome, Shri.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mavis. And it's an amazing panel. So I look forward to sharing my thoughts and my bit of an experience with the panel.
Yep.
And thank you.
Thanks, Sri. So, without any further ado, let's get started. And our very first speaker is Sony in Dallas. Hello, Sony. Thank you for joining us today. We are very much sure that all students attending the session today are eager to hear from you. Are you all set to take the floor on?
Yep. Okay. Yep.
All right. Over to you, Sony.
Okay. So let me share my screen.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm Sunny Andales from Surbana Jurong. We are basically a Singaporean-based consulting firm, and today I'm talking to you about the trends and career opportunities across the digital infrastructure. Okay. So the agenda for my presentation is just talk about first thing first is about me. How did I become a civil engineer? The second part would be we'll talk about the trends in digital infrastructure because that's what we are discussing at the moment. The third one we'll talk about the emerging trends in civil engineering. What are the things that are up and coming, and then we'll go for the career opportunities that you can actually embark on, and a simple summary. Okay. So, this is just about me. I graduated from civil engineering in 2002, and then I take up my master's degree at the University of the Philippines, and then in the National University of Singapore. And currently, I'm already 40 years old. I'm still enrolled, actually, taking my second master's in transport engineering at Mapua University. Yeah. I work for a lot of a lot of companies, actually. So in the Philippines, I work with TransAsia uh, for uh, for the deployment of Sun Cellular, which is basically a cellular network. And then I moved to Mavima and then ACO Consulting. And then the last work that I have there is the Sumitomo Itocho for the Light Rail Transit Authority project expansion. And then I moved to Singapore, where I'm currently based. You see, so I started in formwork design, and then I went to CPG Consultants as a structural engineer, and then I joined the government service, which is the Building and Construction Authority, for 7 years. And then I moved to the private sector, AECOM, doing the Singapore high-speed rail from Kuala Lumpur to Singapore, and with Jacobs doing the Tuas Water Reclamation Plant. I'm currently with Surbana Jurong, and my projects are the Coronet e-submission, the third generation Coronet e-submission portal, and the High Speed 2 in the UK. Yeah. So basically, in summary, I have 12 years in construction technology. I'm talking about BIM, VDC, virtual design and construction, integrated digital delivery, and digital engineering. So 12 years there. I'm basically spent 7 years in government service, 5 years in rail engineering, 4 years in airport engineering. I have done multiple airports within the ASEAN region, including one in Pakistan and then in China, um, airports. I have 3 years in structural engineering and then 1 year in wastewater engineering, which is basically DTSS phase two. So that's basically the summary of my professional experience. Yeah. So let's talk about emerging trends, in civil engineering. So basically, I got this from a publication, and then it basically show the emerging trends in civil engineering. So, like for example, collaborative contracting. So that is something new, especially if you talk about the UK form of contracts. Dispute resolution. You have engineering, contract management, contract administration, and then second down the list is design for maintainability, or DFM. And then there are highlights there wherein you talk about 3D modeling or artificial intelligence application. You have integrated digital delivery, or IDD, and then you have smart facilities management. Okay. And then further down, number three is design for manufacturing and assembly. I think by now you would hear this word a lot, DFMA. It's basically the use of BIM. You have integrated digital delivery, Internet of Things, and so on and so forth. You're basically manufacturing from a factory instead of in situ, and then bringing all of your components, whether it's architectural cladding, structural components like precast, or is it MEP, fabrication, already fabricated materials into the site. So basically reducing the manpower that you need to deploy on site. Okay. Number four, I think the emerging trends is very obvious: green building and sustainability. You basically so these are the common themes that you would see. Okay, so you have green building technology in Singapore. In particular, we have the green mark scheme that is just recently been updated last year. And then the number five is talking about integrated digital delivery, or digital twins. So for example, Bentley is very much advanced in this particular regard. So you're talking about augmented reality, artificial intelligence, BIM. I talked already about that. Common data environment, computational design. In our office in Surbana Jurong, computational design is up and coming. You see, so we have 3 or 4 people that is actually completely assigned in doing just computational design. Okay, data collection and analysis, and obviously IDD application. And then the last one is if you are a civil engineering graduate or an architect, you can go to FM. So you have facility management. So you have smart facilities and so on. So I already highlighted to you that in blue. So these are the up and coming skill set that is now very much in demand in the construction sector. Okay. So let's talk about career opportunities. Yeah. So basically, as mentioned, to summarize what I was just talking about regarding the emerging trends, the first one is talking about digital design. Okay, so you can join a consultant, and then you can basically engage your stakeholders like your clients and developers to achieve optimized and coordinated design that meets clients' regulatory requirements and downstream requirements. Basically, so digital design looks at software that allows you to do your modeling and analysis during the design stage. Okay, and then you focus on digital. The next stage is digital fabrication. So if you join a contractor or a project that uses PPVC, pre-finished, prefabricated volumetric construction, or design for manufacturing and assembly, basically what is meant by this is you're translating design to standardized components. So I mentioned to you that the the majority of the work is actually done in a factory, and then so that you can automate the offsite, you're basically automating the offsite production. So most of the work is done in a factory, and then all of those components or cells are actually delivered on site. Okay, if you join a contractor, you basically go to digital construction. You're talking about just-in-time delivery, installation and monitoring of site activities to maximize productivity and minimize rework. So this is basically the contractor side. Okay, and then if you don't join the facility management, you are basically talking about digital asset delivery and management. This is the real-time monitoring for operations and maintenance to enhance asset value. So you talk about asset maintenance, operations and maintenance of buildings. Basically, you talk about COBE, the construction operation, building information exchange, and so on and so forth. So there are basically four career opportunities that you can go. You can go to design, fabrication, construction, or asset delivery. Okay. So in Singapore, where I'm based, there the government is actually has this was actually published 2 years ago, called the Skills Framework for the Built Environment, and you can clearly see the career pathways. I would like to focus your attention to the pink one that I highlighted in red here. So this career framework, I've already summarized it for you. This is the career framework. So you can either join architectural consultancy and design, construction management, production. This is the digital fabrication. You have the actual construction management. You have project management, and then facility management, and then digital delivery. Okay, so in Singapore, the digital delivery management, or DDM, is actually divided into four. Okay, so you have assistant specialist, the lead, and you have the chief digital officer. So if you have um, at least 10 years experience in leading a particular company or a consultancy office, then you can become the chief digital officer. Okay, so what do you mean by that? A chief digital officer oversees the overall implementation and innovation of digital solutions in the organization to achieve digital transformation of the business. This is the equivalent of the director level. If you are a digital delivery lead, you are basically playing the role in leading a role in project delivery, digital solutions development and adoption, and uh, competency in building and innovation. The digital delivery lead is equivalent to the BIM manager, position that we all know, that we are aware of. If you're a specialist in digital delivery, you are involved in project delivery most of the time in common data environments or as an information manager, digital solutions development and adoption, and competency in buildings. And the lowest tier is actually the assistant specialist, that is equivalent to a BIM practitioner or a BIM modeler. The assistant specialist assists in project delivery, development, and adoption of digital solutions, and has a competency in building design. Okay, so that's basically the four distinct trends or jobs that is available if you are pushing if you would like to deal with digital delivery or digital infrastructure. Yeah. Okay, so career opportunities. So I mentioned about, if you are a BIM modeler, that's equivalent to an assistant specialist. If you are a BIM coordinator, that's the equivalent of a specialist. And then if you're a BIM manager, you're basically is the lead. And if you are the VDC manager or the director level, you have the chief digital officer. But that's basically the traditional roles. So we have that for the last 10 to 12 years already. Okay, so but in addition to that, in our office in particular, we have, as mentioned, we have a dedicated person dealing with construction robotics and drones. What do I mean by that? So this is an up and coming career opportunity. So focusing on robotics in Singapore in particular, that's a big topic because there is a big issue on manpower. So if you can automate things, using robots, that is the best way to go. And then, as you are aware, drones is at up and coming. You see, so drones is used because of the COVID. Project site personnel cannot actually move around, so they are using drones actually for remote inspections. Okay, and then there's another trend called 3D construction printing. As you are aware, 3D printing can be done both in concrete and steel nowadays. You see, so it's originally just steel. Additive manufacturing, that's the technical term for 3D printing. But now concrete is up and coming. So locally, research is been done with the Housing and Development Board to do 3D printing of public housing in Singapore. And then the up and coming one is smart contracts. So if you're aware of, let's just say, Ethereum, Ethereum is actually being used for smart contracts. You don't need to, these are basically automated applications. And then everyone is familiar with blockchain, you see. Blockchain is the same thing, the key technology that is running Bitcoin. So this is basically distributed ledger. Or basically distributed record of smart contracts. So this is up and coming. So the jobs that you can actually pursue. Okay. So I talk about my company. So coming back to my company, this is actually Surbana Jurong. That's the team behind it. So there's a director and a deputy director, and then we have the traditional roles of the senior principal BIM manager. And then I mentioned to you that we have 3 people that is specifically assigned to computational. This is basically doing Dynamo, Python, and so on and so forth. The scripting, basically, visual scripting. You don't need to learn programming language for you to actually create, NURBS or preforming geometry. So this is actually something new to us. So we have the traditional principal BIM manager. So I'm like me, for example, I'm a senior executive BIM manager, a bit of a senior role, and then you have the traditional BIM manager. So in addition to that, the number 7 is actually talking about drone specialists. So we have a drone and a computational specialist, and then we have a BIM quantity surveyor that is specifically doing quantity takeoff coming from 3D models. So this is the kind of jobs or career opportunities that is this is actually existing. So in our current setup in our consulting firm, these are the jobs that is actually, these are actual jobs, mind you. So these are actual positions from our team, okay, so which is the digital management office. So for us, okay, in the digital management office, we have 8 pillars. We have the integrated digital delivery. I think you can pursue ISO 11650, which is the BIM standards. That's the previously BS 1192. Okay, we have a BIM clinic, which is a central BIM team. We have a dedicated computation specialist. We have virtual design and construction, basically. And then we have unmanned aerial vehicle. These are the drones that I mentioned, doing photogrammetry and point clouds. We have enterprise contract. This is the enterprise contracts. I mentioned about the quantity takeoff coming from the models, and we have training. So we have all of these 8 pillars in our company. If you are trying to pursue career in digital infrastructure, okay. So to as a summary, what I would like to convey to you is that you aim to graduate with traditional degrees in architecture and engineering, because that's important. Like for me, I'm a civil engineer with a focus in structural engineering and transport engineering. So I still maintain that core engineering skills. So I'm still a civil engineering by trade. Okay, so that's important. Okay, so don't jump over to a particular up and coming skill, up and coming career. Try to maintain the core skills that you have using the traditional degrees. Another one is that you learn BIM software and collect skill sets. That's important now if you would like to go digital. There's a lot of BIM software out there. You know, Bentley is one of them, including Autodesk, Trimble, and then Nemetschek. So there are roughly 4 major BIM vendors around, and be involved in high profile and large infrastructure projects. You see, because your employability depends on the projects that you are working on. So try to seek and be involved in high profile large infrastructure projects like airports. You have railway, hospital projects, and so on and so forth. So that's the key message that I would like to give to you, and that's my name at the bottom if you would like to contact me if you have further questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonny. That was really indeed like for sharing your insights, and that was really helpful. So our next speaker is Cheryl. Over to you, Cheryl.
Thanks so much, Mavis. I'll just swap screens with Sonny. Thanks, Sonny. So inspiring. I might be a tiny bit older than Sonny, but I'm young at heart. So I think that's why I've been invited today to talk about opportunities, looking a little bit further from the career path in and what actually it means to excel in a career as an infrastructure engineer. So I wanted to share with you a little bit of my past. Actually, my heritage is Indian and Welsh. My father's Indian, my mother is Welsh. And this bangle that you see on the left here is my daily reminder that actually my grandfather had bought himself a jewelry shop when he immigrated from Gujarat in India. And he spent his life, rest of his life there, working to raise his 5 children with my grandmother. And those 5 children grew up to be engineers, doctors, politicians, you name it. The reality is we were on a very tiny island in a very big ocean on a very small planet in a very large amount of space. And it's this juxtaposition or disjoint between small and large that we continually wrestle with in life as we deal with our planet and having nearly 8 billion people on this planet, and in our careers as we think about what it is to be an infrastructure engineer. There are a number of impacts that we are experiencing, particularly in our generation. And, some of these are as a result of climate change with extreme weather and ocean acidification. COVID-19 is in there with our increase in population. Then we have solar flares from the sun. Can't do too much about that. Landslides, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, meteors. All of these we can collectively consider as disruptions to the systems that operate on this planet. And when we are doing infrastructure engineering, then we're attempting to find solutions for people and planet within this context. So let's think about the skills then that we need and the knowledge that goes along with those skills. In the context of this great paper by Stefan et al., a colleague from Canberra in Australia actually, gave us a really nice schematic to think about where our systems are in operating in this space, and how our careers can actually be used to bring those trends back into balance so that our children and our children's children have an opportunity to experience this planet as we have and as our parents have. This is, in fact, sustainable development. So when we think about creating a safe operating space for humanity, then perhaps we can also think about how our generation has a particular opportunity to make a difference. And I like to reflect on this graph, my only graph for this presentation. The last 200 years since the Industrial Revolution, we have gone through a number of waves of technological innovation. And one might say that at the moment we are sitting in this sixth wave. The sixth wave has a unique characteristic of not only looking after what we want as human beings, but also looking after what the planet needs as a full operating system. And that actually involves looking back to the impacts of those previous waves and in our design of new solutions, addressing those problems of the past, addressing the ozone hole, addressing the greenhouse gas emissions, bringing down at the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and so on. This set of framing goals internationally through the United Nations provides us with another way of thinking about our design constraints and our design opportunities as infrastructure engineers. Within these 17 goals for sustainable development, each goal has a number of targets, and those targets have indicators. And when we study engineering, of course, we all know that we have variables to consider and we have design constraints around the strength of materials and so on. We also actually have design constraints around these goals and what they mean in terms of bringing our planet back into balance. So when I think of infrastructure engineering, one particular topic always comes to mind for me, and that is the topic of energy. And energy for me is a really significant conversation. This is quite a complex graph, but a complex picture. I hope it gives you a sense of the reality that we're not just talking about renewable energy or renewable energy sources or passive solar design. Actually, all of these content areas are interrelated between the performance of our infrastructure, for example, the building envelope, material selection, the context or the system in terms of whether we're using fossil fuels, we're thinking about greenhouse gas emissions, we're looking at energy from the sun, and how that relates to our communities in terms of the way that our culture interacts with our built environment and our infrastructure, whether it's from transportation through to energy use for education, and how that affects our behaviour in terms of our human health and well-being. And finally, in terms of that personal sense of satisfaction, when we're creating our solutions as infrastructure engineers, whether it be fully digital or translating that into the real world as a built solution, then we need to think about how well the human client context is met alongside these other considerations. That's just one snapshot of one topic area. Perhaps you can see then the level of complexity that we might be considering as we move through our careers. And Sonia, I so agree with you. I think having that base training, formal training in a discipline like engineering, whether you specialise in structural, civil, environmental, mechatronic, material, mechanical engineering, and so on, they are really important because the complexity of these systems to deal with and the planet as a system absolutely require us to have a deep appreciation of fundamental physics and maths so that we can work through quite complex scenarios. So I Googled. I said, how could my talk be different to what anyone could look up on Google today? And here we go, essential skills needed to excel in a career as an infrastructure engineer. I did ask Google this question exactly, and this is what it brought up. I thought, not bad. Infrastructure engineer skills. Let's have a look at this top hit. And when I looked at this website, this was the graph that was presented to me. The data. And Sonia, I really hear you. I think there are these really important hardware skills and the knowledge that goes behind that as well. And this is why I'm number 2 in the presentation, of course, because Sonia was able to provide you with that fundamental technical knowledge and the competencies that you need to work inside a corporate environment. Here are those other skills then that also include thinking about planet as context and the other desirables that clients are now asking for in terms of net zero development, net positive development, regenerative, restorative development. So as you go through your program of studies and into your career as professionals getting extra education, we're all learning all the time. Please make sure that you keep this as context. And if you find it, it's not unusual. It's part of the new reality of practicing in an infrastructure career in the 21st century. So this is my final slide in terms of the essential skills, and I always tweak knowledge inside that because it's what we know and how we use it, of course, but that's embedded in skills needed to excel. Well, we have this planetary boundaries, addressing the impacts of the past, considering this global set of goals that we are all working towards, and remembering our planetary context is really key to being in the centre of this diagram and having a successful career, and one that really does make a global difference wherever you are on the planet. So you've got your digital agility with software and hardware, of course, your interpersonal skills with agility and communication, and your technical skills in terms of design and development. So this is the mental model that I use when I teach here at Griffith University in thinking about how those design tools and the software, and we have a lot of fun with the Bentley software, especially the Luminati fly-through, because that's the opportunity to use this communication space to show how all of those different programs and virtual storytelling result in something that other people can become inspired by and want to manifest as a real solution. So I will stop there and stop my screen share. Here we go. Thanks, Mavis.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm sure this is going to inspire our young minds. And before we move on, I just want to notify our audience that we will enable the chat box 15 minutes before the session so that you can post your questions. Okay, moving on, we have Chelsea. Here you go, Chelsea. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Alrighty. So hopefully by now everyone, after having listened to Sunny and Cheryl, feeling very much inspired about entering into a career in infrastructure engineering. So I guess my role on this panel is to provide a bit of that young professional perspective, noting that it wasn't too long ago that I was myself at university and facing that transition into the workplace. So yeah, I'll be touching on some of the ways that you can make the most of your time while you're still at university, as well as what you might consider as you start to transition into your careers. So Mavis did a wonderful introduction before, but I'm Chelsea Hayward. Depending on who I'm talking to, my role changes sometimes. Sometimes I'm a water engineer, sometimes a process engineer, sometimes a socio-technical engineer, and I'll go into some of that a bit later on. But outside of that, also a very passionate STEM ambassador. I love to travel, so very excited that borders are all opening up now. And in my spare time, very much into my sports. So in terms of my background, I did a Bachelor and Masters of Chemical and Environmental Engineering at the University of Queensland here in Australia. During my degree, I did an internship with Rio Tinto Alcan Queensland Research and Development Centre. So that was almost a bit of an internal research group, and I was working on a project where I was assessing wastewater at a refinery site that they were looking to shut down. So making sure that that wastewater was going to be taken care of properly. And then during my time at university was definitely a very active participant in various student societies and programs. I was a UQ Women in Engineering student leader, as well as had various other roles and participated in lots of activities, which I will again touch on shortly. In terms of my career, so I've been with Jacobs for just over 5 years now. That was my first job straight out of university. And I went straight into the water infrastructure team. So as a process engineer in that water infrastructure team, I work on various projects, particularly design of water and wastewater treatment plants. I've done a few projects where it's been the whole treatment plant, other projects where it's just upgrading a portion of an existing plant. And also as a process engineer, we also get the opportunity to look at some of the high level planning work. So I've also worked on some projects where it was a bit more strategic planning, and also looking at drought management in New South Wales, making sure that we have the right infrastructure in place to ensure that we've got a secure water supply for Sydney, especially in times of drought, and particularly looking at impacts of the varying climate, and the likelihood of running into drought down the line. More recently, I've also taken on a role as an intern for the water leadership team in Australia and New Zealand. So that's been really interesting, getting to have get a bit more insight into the business and help work on our strategy for the next few years and where the water business is going to go. You'll find out through this presentation, absolutely, I'm going to be drawing on a lot of examples, but I like to keep myself very busy and get involved in a lot of additional activities. These are not all necessarily current activities. Some of them are recent past, but as Mavis mentioned in the introduction, I have had a lot of involvement with Engineers Without Borders over the years. And then also lots of other things going on. So within Jacobs itself, I also almost do a bit of volunteering, helping to manage their global giving and volunteering program in Australia. That Jacobs Plan Beyond Pioneers is also working to deliver sustainability initiatives across Australia and New Zealand, and getting our employees engaged in kind of little small activities that they can participate in outside of their regular work duties. I've also done some tutoring of first year engineering students at one of the universities here in Sydney. And yeah, been involved in various industry committees, and am also a volunteer with the Australian Red Cross. So plenty going on in my life. So in terms of touching on how you can make the most of your time at university and stand out to employers, most of these points that I'm going to touch on are kind of based on 2 bits of experience. Like I mentioned, it wasn't really that long ago that I was a student at university myself and transitioning into the workplace, but I've also been lucky enough to participate in a program at Jacobs where I was helping in the recruitment process for our interns and graduates, and actually going through interviews and assessing applications and things like that. So I'll drawing on some points from there as well. But yeah, what I am going to be touching on is exploring opportunities, making sure you get some work experience under your belt, leveraging any opportunities for mentoring, and also getting involved in extracurricular activities. So in terms of exploring, university and those early stages of career are absolutely the prime opportunity to be trying different things and jumping on lots of different opportunities. So definitely encourage you where you have the opportunity to try different subjects and courses. I was lucky enough to have some electives throughout my degree and tried a few things out of the ordinary. I didn't necessarily have my mind set from the start on studying chemical and environmental engineering. I definitely tried a few civil and mechanical courses as well. And it was really great to get that experience, and I mean, helped me realize that it was that chemical engineering side of things that I wanted to explore further. But I might not have known that if I didn't try out a few different subjects when I had the chance to. Also, just looking out for other opportunities to learn new things. The pictures that are on this slide are from an EWB Humanitarian Design Summit that I went on. So I traveled to Cambodia for a couple of weeks. And we lived in a community on a small island over there, and really worked with the community to identify what sort of things we might be able to help with in terms of improving quality of life. So one of the big challenges that the community identified was that their island was already relatively small, and they were having big erosion issues. So the water running down the Mekong River was very quickly washing away their island. So they were looking at ways that they might be able to slow down that process. So we kind of helped come up with some ideas for different plants that might be able to go in there, and different patterns of planting them and things like that to help them maintain their island. It's a little bit of a funny story though. Another team went back there the next year, and it actually turns out that river erosion was an issue. It wasn't as big of an issue as the fact that there were sand pirates coming over from the mainland and actually like digging up the bits of the island to take back and use in construction projects back on the mainland. So we didn't see that one coming, but hopefully they were able to get that sorted. Definitely other opportunities to look for while you're at university, going on exchange. I did not get the chance to do that while I was studying, but I ended up taking a year off after my degree and went and lived in Canada for a year. But yeah, while you have that opportunity to explore different places around the world, definitely encourage you to jump on those. And then when it comes to transitioning into the workplace, again, not actually something that I did. My role at Jacobs was going straight into that water infrastructure team, but I know that there are companies out there that have graduate programs with rotations where you get to try out different parts of the business. So if that's something, if you're not quite sure what it is that you want to do, but you do know that you kind of want to be in that infrastructure engineering environment, definitely encourage you to look for a graduate program where rotations are an option. In terms of work experience, I cannot highly recommend it enough. I know in Australia, many universities, it is a requirement as part of an engineering degree to get some work experience under your belt, but whether it's a requirement or not, very much highly encourage you to get as much experience as you can. And while I think it's definitely important to get that internship or industry experience, I just wanted to highlight that any other kind of work experience also helps you to build that work ethic and get relevant experience that will play a role as you start your career. So I just kind of highlighted, I guess, when you are looking at those internship opportunities, the type of skills and experience you're getting out of that. You are getting an insight into the industry, getting to try some different things out. Again, I didn't really know exactly what part of the industry I wanted to go into when I graduated. So getting that experience and knowing and working with water was definitely a big help. I think it was also quite a research focused placement as well, where I was doing a lot of experimentation in the lab. So while I knew that I was interested in water, what that placement did actually help show me was that research wasn't the pathway for me, which is perfectly fine to also kind of figure out what it is that you don't like as well as what you do like. And yeah, so those internships also get you that relevant real world experience and enable you to test out where your interests lie. But just as another example, a retail or hospitality job also gets you some very relevant experience that you can take into your careers. So like I mentioned, building that work ethic, lots of those jobs help you build up that customer service experience. And I work in for a consultancy at Jacobs, and so clients and working with clients is a very big part of what we do. So getting any of that sort of customer service experience is actually very relevant to when you go into that workplace and need to work with different people and clients. Also gives you that opportunity to start balancing priorities, making sure that you are staying on top of your university work while also showing up to your workplace, and also potential for lots of teamwork and leadership experience as well, especially if you take on any kind of management or leadership roles within your workplace. The next point I wanted to touch on, and where I definitely found lots of opportunities while I was at university and early on in my career, was mentoring. Yeah, again, cannot highly recommend it enough. Finding a mentor, finding the right people to support you is absolutely a great way to not only get insight into the industry, but yeah, find that support person. And I guess I have on here that there are lots of different roles that mentors can play. It can be a formal or informal relationship. As you can see, I've just got a picnic of myself as part of an EWB mentoring group when I was at university, and it was very casual. Went on picnics and had lots of chats with different people who are at different stages of their degrees. Some of them were already in the workplace, so it was really great to hear insights from that group. But yeah, just keep in mind that there are different roles that mentors can play. So they can be a role model, someone that you look up to, someone who's doing something that you really want to do. They might have a role that you really want to work towards, or work in a particular way that you want to emulate. They might be a sounding board, so someone who you can talk through with various ideas or challenges, and help you come up with solutions. They might be a bit of an insider, someone who's got lots of experience in the industry, can give you those insights into what's going on, where the best places to work, what are those emerging trends and things like that, like Sunny touched on before. If you have specific skills that you might want to develop, some mentors are very good at helping you to build specific skills that they might be experts in. And then the one that I probably feel has benefited me the most in terms of starting off my career is a mentor who is an advocate or champion. So someone who you build a really great relationship with, and then can speak for you, speak on your behalf, advocate for you in the industry, whether it's just within your own workplace or in the wider industry. And I mean, for me, it actually really helped me land my first job at Jacobs, having a mentor who played that role for me. And then the last main point I wanted to touch on was getting involved in extracurricular activities. Definitely something that the management and HR team encouraged me to look at when I was part of that recruiting process for our new interns and graduates, was looking at people who are well-rounded. It's not all just about focusing in on your studies and getting good marks. While that is an important part of the puzzle, there's lots of other things that employers like to look for, and it's all about knowing that those extracurricular activities are also important opportunities for skill development. So I've listed a few of the skills there that I have developed myself through the extracurricular activities that I've been involved in. But yeah, that's included. I've got a photo there of my volunteering with Engineers Without Borders. Like I mentioned, play a lot of netball and lots of opportunities for teamwork and leadership skills development through that. And then also just getting involved in workplace activities, environmental initiatives and things like that. And then one more point that I just wanted to touch on, and again, I think it's important throughout your whole career, but something really great, a great opportunity while you are still at university, is to really embrace your passion. So for me, that's socio-technical engineering and my volunteering with Engineers Without Borders. So I think Cheryl touched on it really well, talking about how infrastructure engineers play an important role in ensuring that we are aware and maintaining that planetary boundary, and also working towards the sustainable development goals. So to me, and using words from Engineers Without Borders, socio-technical engineering is all about harnessing the potential of engineering to create an equitable reality for the planet and its people. So I'm all about trying to work that into my everyday work, but I'm also very passionate about inspiring the next generation of STEM professionals and engineers. So yeah, with Engineers Without Borders, one of my main roles is as the National Youth Outreach Coordinator. So I help deliver a program of introduction to engineering workshops to school-aged youth all around Australia. I've been lucky enough to even head up to the remote Torres Strait Islands to deliver that program. And yeah, it's really about sparking that interest in young people, opening up their minds to the possibilities in engineering careers, and making sure that they're aware that engineers can really help people and the planet, and that it is an important part of what we do as engineers to ensure that we are working towards sustainable development. So to wrap up, I guess the key points are what I encourage you to do: make the most of opportunities to try new things while you are at university and entering into those first few years of your career. Gain as much experience as possible, find the right people to support you, and make sure that you go beyond your studies, find some of those extracurricular activities and interests, and also work to find your passions and really embrace them. And that is it from me.
Thanks, Chelsea. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your experience. I'm sure this is going to inspire and motivate a lot of young engineers who are getting ready to enter the industry. And also, our chat box is enabled now. You can publish your questions if you have any. So, for our last speaker for the day is Shri. Over to you, Shri.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I think, okay. Being the last speaker of the day for the event is always a challenging one, particularly when you have such powerful three speakers there. And then I just thought I will pick three ideas from there before I start on, and then talk about why are we getting together, what we got together about, what is Bentley's role in that. Sunny talked a lot about digitalization, digital twin, and taking it beyond BIM. Right. And then Professor Cheryl talked about sustainability, being a responsible engineer, and then the most important thing from the young lady Chelsea came about, embrace your passion, and then being a mentor. So bringing all these three together, the idea today is that in digitalization with responsible engineering, and then you want to embrace it, the best mentor can be Bentley Education. That's the whole topic kind of I'm going to go about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one specific space in the whole process of digital twin, and how does the digital twin enable to a career. So right, so that's going to be my talk of the day. So hopefully the slides start working. This is a wheel, it's just a wooden wheel keg. Are you aware that this was invented in the 6th century BC? I have a story to come along with it. And then a leather suitcase. This was invented possibly in the very later part of the 19th century or early 20th century, but they too are independent. But when you brought them together, a wheel and the suitcase, then you become the trawler, how productive it is, how easy it is for people to go across. So what is the relation story there? We had the wooden wheel in the form of CAD. Then we have the leather suitcase in the form of BIM. But then world is going beyond that, bringing them together. Because what did the CAD bring to you? CAD brought you 2 and 3D designing and designing capability. And then the BIM brought you the data along with that. But it was not a real-time data. But then when the digital twin came across, it actually combined both of them, the 2D, 3D modeling along with data, but then went into a live connected data inside. So that you talk about, ML, AI, AR, all of them. Why am I bringing this across? Because you are all those people who are there listening to us are in a very interesting part of the world, interesting part of the time. When I got into the engineering, we were only working on 2D, 3D, and possibly Sunnies of the world, got into BIM and then got in here. But then you guys are directly jumping into digital twin, playing around with digitalization and conquering the challenges of digitally driven organization or project. What a career opportunity, great career opportunity that gives you, right? So what does it ask for? It asks for multiple level of data that are needed onto that. Why is it important? And what is the big difference you guys are going to make in the industry? This is our infrastructure industry. This is a graph of productivity per person per hour. This is the manufacturing industry, which is the highest. This is here. Can you believe that when you all complete the engineering, get out, you're going to be pushing the scale to here and here because there are enough opportunities to improve the productivity. Just for your information, per capita productivity is the lowest in the infrastructure industry today because of our digital absorption, our digital habits, or what Sunny talked about, IDD is not being adopted. There's a huge career opportunity there. And then this is what is the productivity per person in the last 20 years, right? Even if you increase it by 1%, you're kind of saving 1.6 trillion. Do you want to be in that bag of a bandwagon to create a career and then learn things to go across and create the productivity across? That's the whole idea. So why am I talking about this digital twin? Let's see what are the other industries do. I know there was a huge F1 race in Melbourne here in Australia. For the rest of the Southeast Asian, if you're following for Formula cars, this is the digital twin. This is a real car. See the level of digital twin advancement that happens on. You get data collection in every fraction of a second, right? And the level of productivity where they can find out how the engine is heating up, what is performing, what is not performing with a digital twin, and then on the move, on the go, they can repair it. Let's look at aerospace industry. I'm slightly rushing through because I'm conscious of the time. Aerospace industry, are you aware that the Boeings what you fly on, even before the first sheet metal is bent to make a Boeing aircraft, the whole aircraft is digitally made and designed? Imagine if you're going to be making a stadium in Australia now, even before the groundwork starts, even before you start digging, you can do a digital twin of it. Don't you think that's a huge career opportunity there for you? So look at the aircraft industry, the digital twin that has come across. And what do we have for our built environment? What are the areas where you can work on? You can improve the wind turbine productivity. You can monitor road road track wear, and then you have huge Commonwealth game coming up in Melbourne and Olympics game coming up in Brisbane. And I know Asia, Southeast Asia is always a busy place. The road where you can do a simulate traffic. I have a couple of couple of slides on that. I will come to that as well. And then you can find out where the utilities are. Singapore is now completely going everything underground because there is no enough space on the top of it. So if you have a digital twin which can also track subterranean, planning of that, imagine the career opportunity that is available. So I want to talk to you about so much digital twin. So let me explain what is the digital twin. They are just a continuous digital representation of a physical asset. An easier way is that if you take an iPhone or any other smartphone and take a picture of yourself and look at the picture, that's the digital twin of yours. The only difference is that 5 years later, the picture remains the same. So it has to be actively a live data so that it has to age along with you. So just to give you a quick example of what the digital twin is, right? So I will directly take you to what a digital twin is through an experience here. So this is actually a digital twin of a city in Singapore. This is the building where Microsoft Office is there, a digital twin created by engineers like you. Now, on the floor 9, they want to find out what is the level of occupancy, what is the level of power consumption, and they can come out with a data analysis to find out, saying that this room is lesser occupied, power consumption is what Cheryl talked about, sustainability. So look at what you can do with the digital twin here, right? And then let me go to the next one. This is a construction process in London. How a digital twin construction management can really help you to work on if you can be a part of this. You're talking about construction schedule management, cost management, supply chain management, safety management, because you are building it here. You want to take care there is no traffic moving on here. So much of job I can see in this one particular picture. So much of job opportunities I can see in one picture, right? So let me quickly take you through digital twin workflow and what are the career opportunities. for any large infrastructure project, there is a planning stage which very experienced engineer like Sunny dealt on, but I'm going to very slightly touch upon again. You have a planning stage, a design stage, an analysis stage, construction stage, and then you hand it over to people who own it, and then an operation stage. So I'm going to very quickly touch upon what are the career opportunities you have in those places. These are the career opportunities. If you just add the number, the jobs, 3 plus 4, 7 plus 4, 11 plus 15 plus 7, 22, just what I could think of. At a planning stage, what are the career opportunities? At the design stage, what are the career opportunities? I will possibly quickly go through into each one of them and show you a quick video, and then you will understand what it is about. I'm talking about now a planning stage. You can do a site survey. You can do a reality capture. You remember Sunny talked about a new area where flying a drone is going to be drone technology using an artificial intelligence is going to be a biggest one. Look at this picture. This is actually done by one of our customers. All of these are our customer case studies. This is a plain ground, no building has come across. He's flying a drone, capturing a picture of the whole area, more than 100 kilometers. Look at the opportunity that you can create on creating a whole ground of that. Everything is in a reality model, in a digital twin. um, a great opportunity to, as a person who was in the in a surveying place, it could be quality survey, it could be land survey, you could be doing a architect as a design, or you could be an horticulturist or a naturalist to find out what is the level of natural forests that are destroyed there. That's a great career opportunity. This is when you start a building completely together, right? So, and then I'm moving from planning to the design stage. On the design stage now, what are the career opportunities that are available? If I mean, you are aware a good number of times in many cities you hear that there has been an accident where the bridge clearance of a vehicle was not able to clear the bridge because the bridge was designed badly. This is a digital twin of this is an actual road, and this is a digital twin. How a digitalization and digital twin can help you to design the road, design the bridge and clearance, and work on either you can work on better earthwork to make the bridge, that space wider, or you can go back and manage the traffic saying that there's only so much of clearance available, only these kind of vehicles can go across. This tool is now a part of our education tool. I'm going to, in the last 4-5 slides, I'm going to talk about how Bentley gives you a head start onto that. But first, I want to inspire and excite you about what opportunities are there. Can you believe it? This whole planning can be done sitting at your desk. You don't have to go to the site for every time you have to measure. You don't have to go there and then take an inch tape. Oh, I measured. I missed that measurement. You don't have to go. Because of the digitalization, it can completely do it by itself, right? So what are the career opportunities it gives you? 3D design engineer, architects. It could be a building architect, it could be a naval architect or a bridge designer, BIM managers, what Sunny very extensively talked about, and hydrologists. You have a living example there in Chelsea. Let's go into the analysis part of it. And the analysis part is again an interesting one. This is a Bond Street train station in London where they want to do, before they design, they wanted to analyze in 2031 what is going to be the traffic. In Bond Street Station, evening rush hour in 2031, what is going to be the traffic? And we have tools and we have learning systems. We have learned content that are available in Bentley Education where you can become one of these pedestrian modeling or traffic modeler or pedestrian movement modeler, crowd modeler, whatever you call that kind of a job opportunity is available. Look at it so that I can clearly find out whether just 2 exits are enough, or should I have a 3rd exit, or should the exit be how wider it is. So kind of analysis can be done across. This is a stadium, and you can clearly use this, our analysis tool to find out how long it takes when the game is over for people to get out and clear out. In an emergency situation, how do I clear them out? And how do I design? So this is what he talked about design. Sunny talked about design using a better manufacturability or, for maintenance of it. So a digital design that comes across there, right? So let me go into so what are the analysis you can do? What are the career opportunity? You could be a structural engineer doing structural analysis. You can be a geotechnical engineer doing soil analysis. You can be a transport modeler. There are multiple opportunities that are available there. Then I'm going into construction. I think audio is the problem here. So I will jump into the next one. Sorry about that. So on the construction where remotely, these are the multiple career opportunities that are available, right? And then the last one is the operation one, where maintenance. Are you aware that most of the infrastructure today, it takes about 4 or 5 years for you to plan, design, analyze, and construct. But the longest life is the operation. The bridge that you have been traveling when you went to the school, you the same bridge you travel through when you are in the college, when you retire, because the life of the bridge is longer. So this is the longest part of the life cycle and the highest money spending on that. So what are the career opportunities that are available for you there in that? See, this is again a digital twin of what do you call a mobile tower, where I can do a complete analysis of how it is rusting, where do I have to maintain it with, and then do a hazard analysis using a digital twin without moving to the side. See, this is what it looks like in 11/4/19, 2019. How was it in 2018? Can you see the difference? I'll run it again quickly. So this is what a digital twin can do for maintenance of that. So a career in digital twin gives you a clear advantage across you for that matter. So why are we talking about this now? I am going to stop sharing here for a minute and enable the audio. Unfortunately, I didn't do that in the first part. My apologies for that. Uh, I'll stop sharing and then I will enable the audio because this is important to have the audio there. Yep, I am back. Okay. Tell me when you can, if you can see it. Why are we talking about it and what is Bentley's role in it? I will come to that to talk to you about quickly on Bentley's role and then what are the Bentley education does for you on that. Now, this is what Bentley is all about. For, the, for all those students, you can be in any of those spaces. Just imagine yourself being there in any of those spaces. Rail project. You could be building an airport. This is for all those Malaysians offshore platforms. The reason I'm showing this across to you that about learning the Bentley technology, learning the Bentley tool gives you a much larger opportunity for a career because you saw those kind of clients, you saw those kind of larger infrastructure, full life cycle infrastructure, what they can work on. So that's about Bentley. Let me go into this is what Bentley can do for you because Bentley is almost in every part of a whole city, be it a city building, be it communication network, be it rail and transit, be it a power plant. Your interest could be anywhere here. We have a tool and not just the tool. And then how do you start there? I know there is a tool, but how do I start my career there? Here we go. I like that word. Job that changes the world. That's where the journey begins on. So let me quickly take you to that place. Where does the journey begin on? We talked about, I don't want to miss that point. We give you the tool, we give you the learning systems. I will also take you further onto this. And this is where education.bentley.com, you jump in there. Let me show you what we have. Just 1 more minute or 2 more minutes of your time, please. So we directly go in there now into, this is the portal. So for a student, let me see what number of software what I provide you there. I can keep running it down, running it down, running it down. Civil design, structural design, hydraulic and hydrology, building design, reality modeling, construction delivery, mapping and surveying, plant design, geotechnical, bridge analysis, energy infrastructure. We talked about a lot on SDG coal. How do I make energy infrastructure which are green energy, mobility and simulation, geotechnical analysis, pipe stress, all of this is completely available to any one of you at no cost. Okay, you have the tool, but where do I start my learning? Go into the get training here, and then you have tremendous amount of learn content that is available. So the place to visit is education.bentley.com. Go there and look at all those learn content that are available. And then if you are still wanting to take a deeper dive, come to the bottom of it. This is our learn server, which is what our commercial customers, you saw them, the people who talked about the airport people who talked about, the stadium, they use it because there is so much of content available. We have access to you free. And then if there are teaching fraternity there are also resources that are available for the teaching fraternity. They can jump in there and then find out what are the kind of project-based learning. Well, I think one of the point what Chelsea talked about is you gain an experience. You don't have to be an intern. We can even design our learning system, which we do with Griffith University, thanks to Cheryl, is that what is called work integrated learning or a capstone project where we get our customers who will give you a problem statement and use one of these tools. And then end of the day, when you have completed that, you have an experience of working on a real-time project. Those are the kind of resources what we are talking about. See here, what Griffith University has a complete digital and spatial technology curriculum that is built across. So this is a place where you have to start. Education.bentley.com. You have all the tools that are needed that come free, all the learning content that are needed that comes free. Plus, you can talk with the university, and if you want industry people like Sarvana Jarang or any one of them you want to work along with them, we can even work out work integrated learning or capstone project. So that's what I'm talking about, where you have to start your journey. So thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Sri. Thank you so much for sharing the insights. That was very helpful. So we will quickly run our Q&A round. So we'll just a second. Okay, so we'll start with the questions we have already received while during the time of the registrations. So our very first question is, does civil engineering courses will be demanded relevant near the future since we are going to be faced with Industrial Revolution 4.0? Cheryl, can you answer this question? I think this is for you.
Just put myself back on screen there. Here we go. So, yeah, it's a really interesting question because I think the academics ultimately human beings, aren't we? And it's really important that we keep on learning and keep on being excited about how we can bring new content and knowledge into our curriculum. Actually, it was what I studied for my PhD, which was how you get really new, interesting stuff into our pretty highly regulated university system. So it's an ongoing challenge and opportunity. I think the biggest thing there, Mavis, is to share with our students and colleagues on the line today, be in communication with your academics about what you want to learn. That's really important. Be a voice for what you're interested in. And there's always an opportunity, especially inside civil engineering and equally anywhere else, for new technology and new ideas to be used as examples and assessment opportunities, ways to show what you're learning as you go through your program. So, you know, you might see some really quite traditional, conventional examples in a tutorial, and you could challenge yourself to actually go and find a 21st century example, a technology revolution, industrial revolution 4.0 example for yourself and in your assignments. And I strongly suspect if you do that, you will do really well in your studies, because you will inspire and impress your academic lecturers and tutors. Does that help answer the question? I hope so.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely, the digital literacy is critically important for graduates from our core engineering programs anywhere around the world. Civil engineering is one of them.
All right. Thanks, Cheryl. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have another question with us. Okay, so with the current slow collapse of the second largest construction company in China and the current economic regression due to inflation, what is the best way to navigate this industry as fresh graduates in this field that flutters during economic downturns? I think, Sony, this is for you.
Sorry, can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Loud and clear, sir.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, COVID is very taxing for a lot of people, especially in Singapore. Um, the most of the infections here are actually in the how to say this, in the dormitories of the marine and construction. And as you know, to their social distancing, right? That is applicable on the site as well, right? So technology is very helpful. I mean, for us designers, we can work obviously online, but for site people, it's very taxing, meaning to say that you need to be creative. Like for example, the use of drones, right? For inspection is become the normal now. So instead of you physically going there, especially with issues with height, I'm talking about if you're inspecting more than 6 meters, there's a danger of falling, right? Um, and then tight corners, meaning to say, like for example, if let's just say you have pipe jacking, very small, 1.5 meters, one less than a meter, you are inspecting that, or underground, that has a danger of collapse, you know, or issues with oxygen and so on and so forth. Especially with tunneling, you know, I'm talking about, let's just say you're working on a tunneling project underground. The use of drones is very, very useful now. Yeah. So it actually allows people to do their normal task, as in inspection, um, um, quite efficiently. Yeah. So technology is helpful, you see. And then I mentioned about remote working before. If you are in construction, obviously you go to site and then you have meetings there and so on. But now everything is actually online. You see, we have a common data environment that you know that the designer can give access to the contractor and vice versa. So now you have a central tracking of files. You see, you don't email or send each other files anymore. You see, there's a central repository, and then you have a single source of truth. So these are the things that technology can help in a COVID scenario. And what we have learned in the last 2 years, I think we will never forget. We will move forward with that. Yes. So um, they would. COVID actually introduces a lot of the solutions to us. Yes. That's my 2 cents.
Very
Thank you
well
so much,
answered. Can
Sonny.
I add a little more to that, if you would
Sure,
permit me,
Shri.
Amir? Sure.
Sure.
Very well said, Sunny. That's right. You also talked about the question talks about the economic regression and then inflation coming on. One of the reasons why what like Sunny talked about is about improving your productivity using the best technology can be a better tool. If you look at today, without a digitalization, 6 out of 10 projects are not delivered on time. So every month you delay, it is going to cost you. So that is going to hit your profitability. So if you're talking about using a better technology for a better forecast of costing, better forecast of time scheduling, better forecast, Sunny talked about dangers of accident because that costs you money, that costs you productivity. So these kind of technology, if you can simulate and plan your safety management within a construction site. So it is all about improving your productivity and safety using the best of the technology. That's the reason why Sunny talked about digitalization all, and I held on to that and went to the digitalization. So, regression can be looked at, inflation can be looked at as a threat. I think to me, I will look at it as an opportunity to turn it around, saying that how do I use the latest technology, the digital technology, to conquer certain challenges of overrun, cost overrun, time overrun, and accident happening on. Just a thought to give it to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Shri. Thanks for adding. Okay, so we have our next question with us. This is for you, Chelsea. As a fresh graduate, what is the best way to build a career path?
Talking from my own experiences, I would encourage getting into a graduate program. The lots of companies out there have graduate programs, and I think it's a really good way to get your foot in the industry, and also have the opportunity to still try out some different things. Like I mentioned before, there are plenty of grad programs that have rotations where you get to be within different parts of the business. But even within the Jacobs graduate program where I joined and didn't necessarily have rotations, I still got the opportunity to try out different things and work on different projects just because the managers and team leaders acknowledged that I was a graduate and needed to kind of explore where my interests lay. And I think the other really great thing, and again, what many companies do with their graduate programs, that they have competencies that they like you to sign off on. So that also helps ensure that you get different types of experience and lots of breadth in those early few years of your career. But I guess just another point to make, I guess I talked a lot about making the most of time at university and trying different things. But once you enter your career, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily stuck in that first thing that you go into. So like I said, look out for role models and mentors. Look out for the people who you see are doing things that you're interested in doing, and find out how they got to where they are. And it might mean that you work in one part of the business or one sector for a little while and then swap over to something else, which is quite common in the industry. So I guess just know that once you get that first job and enter a particular industry, just also know that you're not necessarily stuck there. There's lots of ways to transition across between different sectors.
Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you so much. So we have another question. This question is for you, Shri. What qualities and traits a civil engineer should have, as well as skills? What advice would you give us, like the future civil engineers?
Thank you. I think this question can also go to possibly Sunny and Cheryl and Chelsea. But anyway, I will
Sure.
take it on. Thank you. I think Chelsea very very, very, diligently touched upon this. I think the quality as a civil engineer is about one is about embrace your passion. You wanted to be a civil engineer, that's why you got into civil engineering. So, and then we talked about where is the industry today and where the industry need to go, and we talked about the transformation that is happening in the industry from non-digital to digital. So there are exciting things that are happening on. So, and along with the sustainability development goal, the trait what you should have is about be proud of what you're doing and challenge yourself and look for wider experience to go across. And I may possibly influence a trait which is more a personal and closer to my heart. Is about anything you do in civil engineering, let it be humanitarian rather. Don't make a bomb, make a bridge. Is bomb or a bridge is my question. So bomb destroys, bridge connect people. So the trait should be possibly a constructive engineering, humanitarian engineering that you should be looking for as a trait. And what was the other one? Is about what advice would you give us for a few? That's about it. I mean, be 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 confident, be ready to explore, and hold on to a mentor. I think Chelsea very, very, very diligently touched on. So those are the qualities that are needed. And talk to people like to have mentors like Sunny, where he has gone through multiple industries and then learned it across. So maybe his journey can also be a trait for you to look at, saying that I want to look at engineering as a civil engineer. I want to look at civil in the rail industry, civil in the road industry, civil in the building industry. So be open and be passionate about what you're doing. I hope I answered you. Thank you.
Thanks, Shri. Thank you so much. So I thank you so much. Here comes the to the end of the session. And I would like to thank all the speakers for joining us today and sharing the delightful insights and their varied experience with our audience. I'm sure each one of you have delivered a meaningful message to all the students hearing us today. And this is definitely going to help the wider audience to build their career into the right path. So thank you so much. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Mavis, for putting me into that forum of such an experienced and enterprising people like Sunny and Cheryl and Chelsea. So it's a great honor and privilege to share the podium with you all, honestly, and look forward to more. And thank you, thanks Mavis and Azul for putting the show together. Unbelievable, and not the last but not the least. Thank you all people who signed in and listened to us patiently. Hope we made some value to you. Thank you.